The feds have said that remains an open investigation. There could be more charges for Diddy. There could be more charges for other people involved. And usually the way this works is once they find out other people are involved or were witnesses, they bring them in and they sort of lean on them, and it's sort of like, you're going to cooperate with us, or there's a possibility that you could face charges.
The feds have stated that this investigation remains open, meaning more charges could potentially be brought against Diddy or others involved. Typically, when they identify additional individuals either involved or as witnesses, they bring them in for questioning. At that point, authorities usually apply pressure, implying that they either cooperate or face the possibility of charges themselves.
And I remember looking in his eyes, and I said to him, "What did y'all do?" Because I could see that she was really sedated. That was the first time I ever seen her high before. And then he says, "Tell your girl she wants some birthday." And we were like, well, I mean, he's saying this to me, and I'm like, well, she doesn't have to have sex with you if she doesn't want to. He was upset, I guess that she didn't want to do with him whatever he wanted. I don't know.
Recent allegations against Sean Diddy Combs involve a civil lawsuit filed by a woman accusing him of drugging, physical misconduct, and impregnating her.
The violation I have experienced during the assault has had lasting effects on my body, causing ongoing health problems and complications. The combination of physical and emotional pain has created a cycle of suffering from which it is so hard to break free. I want to continue on this journey towards recovery and healing. I'm glad that he is locked up, but that's a temporary feeling of relief.
Diddy is currently in a New York jail awaiting trial on serious charges, including trafficking, racketeering, and allegedly hosting violent misconduct parties referred to as wild parties.
For the last 2 weeks, Sean Diddy Combs has been getting used to living in a new home, a New York jail cell. The billionaire US rapper is now awaiting trial, accused of serious sex trafficking and racketeering crimes. The federal indictment against Combs reveals graphic details of so-called freak-offs, brutal sex parties he organised and hosted that allegedly left multiple victims severely battered and bruised.
Diddy is allegedly engaging in inappropriate behavior while in jail and faces a minimum sentence of 25 years. It would be in his best interest to cease such actions and cooperate with authorities to avoid further complications.
It's bad boy for life. We all love a bad boy, don't we? Yeah? Not a sex trafficker, we don't. This has just ruined so many good songs for me. Biggie's album has P. Diddy all throughout it, doing his little ad-libs that was shit, but we allowed it. More Money, More Problems will never sound the same again. And the D to the A to the DDY. It's fucked. Yeah, we'll have a bit of a laugh, don't we, before we get into the miserable, disgusting crimes he's really actually committed. So yeah, I think this is my 4th video on P. Diddy, because for whatever reason, the man cannot stop committing crimes. And he was actually very truthful when he said bad boy for life, because life is exactly what he's looking at, or at least 25 to life. Because this man, after reading the indictment on him, he's fucked. He is absolutely fucked. He is going from that beautiful mansion he owns straight to a miserable, grotty little jail cell. And you know what? He's such a fucking prick. He really deserves it. So far, he's been charged with racketeering, which is basically criminal activities designed to gain profit disguised as legitimate business deals. Sex trafficking by fraud, force, or coercion. This is the practice of illegally transporting people for sexual exploitation. And then also transporting people to engage in prostitution. And honestly, reading all of this, it's just like a slam dunk to facilitate his desires, including his freak-offs. What a word that's become, honestly. And just to give you a little list of exactly what him and his employees got up to here, we've got sex trafficking, forced labor, interstate transportation for purposes of prostitution, coercion and enticement to engage in prostitution, narcotic offenses, kidnapping, arson, bribery, and obstruction of justice. Wow. You know what? You're P. Diddy. You've got all the money in the world. You don't need to do any of this. But for some people, the more powerful they get, the more dark their imagination becomes, and the more they want to push the boundaries to do the craziest fucked up shit possible. And this is what happens when a psychopath gets this much power. Even those words coercion and enticement to engage in prostitution, it wasn't enough for him to get consenting, prostitutes who do this by trade. What a trade. Do you know what I mean? I don't remember that in my apprenticeship. But people who do this for a living anyway. It was fun for him to take people who would never ordinarily have been a prostitute into that so that they could become his toys. And by the sounds of it, P. Diddy and his employees would do whatever it took to get women into his inner circle to participate in whatever fucked up shit he was into. He would use threats. He would use intimidation. He would even use the offer of a romantic relationship, that lover boy method that Andrew Tate made famous.
Some speculate that Diddy could become one of America's most notorious prisoners due to his high-profile status and the serious charges he faces. This could potentially attract significant attention during his time in incarceration.
The arrest on sexual abuse and racketeering charges of Sean Combs, known alternately as Puffy or Diddy, sent shockwaves through the hip-hop world and is sparking vigorous debates online about who knew what, when, and for how long, and who else might have been involved. Combs insists he's innocent, but a judge rejected his lawyer's bail proposal because he had concerns that Combs might try to tamper with witnesses. Combs' downfall was years in the making and involved the abuse of Cassie Ventura, his former girlfriend, and others. According to friend of the show Teray, who has new reporting on what led to the downfall of Diddy, Combs' descent into darkness was due in part to, quote, drug abuse. It's central to why he's now facing a mountain of serious charges. When Diddy and Cassie were together, he dragged Cassie down into addiction. After she left him, someone said, she went to rehab to get control of her life, which led to a process of healing. Not just from the drugs, but from the abuse. From there, she found the courage to speak up. Joining me now is Teray, who, as I mentioned, has been reporting about Diddy on his Substack, Culture Fries, and on his Teray Show podcast. Teray, my friend, talk about more that you learned about what led to Diddy's downfall.
Well, Cassie was recording an album for about 10 years. She made a ton of songs, she made collabs, she had producers. She thought she was actually working on an album. That was ultimately a giant pacifier to keep her happy while Diddy was actually using her for other things, right? For the freak-offs that we're talking about.
Stephen A. Smith has weighed in on Diddy's situation in prison, emphasizing the gravity of the allegations against him. He highlighted the potential dangers Diddy might face while incarcerated, given the public outrage surrounding his case.
With more accusations against the music mogul, Talia Graves claims in a civil lawsuit that Combs and a bodyguard drugged, bound, and raped her in 2001 and filmed the incident. Graves is represented by famed litigator Gloria Allred, who is no stranger to representing women in high-profile cases, okay? Here's a list. We're speaking of Gloria Allred here, okay? Here's a list of just some of the women she's represented in the past. Look at this list right here. O.J. Simpson trial, remember that Scott Peterson trial, Tiger Woods scandal, Bill Cosby scandal, Anthony Weiner, former representative out of New York, remember that? All of that stuff happened. That's who she's represented. Allred represented Amber Frey, the girlfriend of Scott Peterson, who was convicted of killing his wife and unborn son, and most notably, she represented more than half.
In an interview, Diddy openly discussed his wild parties and even hinted that his actions could potentially lead to his arrest.
Your parties are the hottest ticket around.
They won't even give me a permit for the parties, man. They don't want me to throw the parties no more. But we ain't gonna stop. We're gonna keep on having fun, bringing people together from all walks of life. You're gonna hear about my parties. They're gonna be shutting them down. They're gonna probably be arresting me, doing all types of crazy things just because we wanna have a good time. Whenever you bring up a different element into people's environment, things that broaden people's horizon, people get intimidated. There's a lot of people out there that feel intimidated by it. It ain't nothing but breaking down racial barriers, breaking down generation barriers. People from all walks of life. Ron Perlman talking to Jay-Z, Jay-Z talking to, you know what I'm saying? It just goes on and on. It's just like people from all walks of life connecting and getting together. Yeah.
Your parties are the hottest ticket in town. People dying to get into your party. How does that make you feel?
I mean, it's cool. It doesn't make me feel any way special. It doesn't make me feel like a bigger person. It just makes me feel like I know how to throw a party.
Diddy's legal team is actively fighting the charges, but the seriousness of the accusations, the extensive investigation, and his reported behavior in prison are making the situation more challenging. These factors are also reinforcing the severity of the allegations against him.
Who've accused Bill Cosby of rape and molestation. As for Sean P. Diddy Combs, he's pleaded not guilty to charges that he led a criminal enterprise that abused women. Look, I've already been in the mindset that the brother's in trouble. Deep, deep trouble, as in never seeing the light of day as a free man again. It's really, really that serious. I don't think it's an exaggeration. That's number one. Number two, everybody's sitting up there talking about Gloria Allred right now involved in the incident because there's money to be made. Okay, and the reality is that if you've got a situation where you've got tape, you've got audio, etc., against this man, it's something that could come back to haunt you. We can't ignore that reality, all right? Then you've got to take into account the fact that him being in a federal prison, him being in jail right now, being held without bond, wasn't allowed bail, even though he's got one more appeal available to him, the chances of him pulling that off are slim to none, okay? Now you've got Hollywood up in arms and incredibly nervous. Why? Because everybody's wondering whether or not their name is gonna get mentioned. And for that, my condolences kick in. And here's the reason why. You could have gone to a Diddy party, but there's a Diddy party and there was a Diddy after party. And the after party is where these quote unquote freak-offs were taking place. What if you never went to them? What if you just went to the party and then you left at a reasonable hour like most people do? And you went home and went about your business and did your own thing. But while you were at the party, you took a picture. While you were at the party, you were drinking, you were hanging out, you were socializing, fraternizing, having a good time. Based on how so many people are acting, you never know what level of incrimination could come associated with you. And here's where it gets interesting. We're talking about Hollywood. So the image is what it's all about, not just the reality. If the image is of you taking pictures and partying and having a good time, you got a drink in your hand and a cigar in your mouth. In Hollywood, more so than most places. So I can understand why so many people are nervous. They ain't necessarily nervous because they're guilty. They're nervous because of the association and what it potentially implies and how it can be used to compromise their earning potential. That's the world that exists in Hollywood. And that's what makes this so unfortunate.
John Deal has suggested that Diddy's behavior in prison could have a negative impact on his mental health, potentially worsening his condition. He pointed out that the stress of incarceration, along with the mounting legal troubles,
because Puff always had a problem of listening to people that he thought that was less than him. And now he got to listen to people that got power over him, but never had as much as he had. He's gonna have a big problem in the prison system. He's gonna have a real big problem in the prison system, bro. And having to listen to those COs and having to listen to everybody that got more power than him now, from a person that had all the power in the world that we thought. Now, seems like the tables is turning. If these people have it this their way, he's gonna be spending the rest of his life in the prison system. He better hope that they want to make a deal, but I don't think so, or they want somebody else. He better hope, and he got something to offer them.
Jaguar claims that Diddy's behavior remains unchanged in prison, with rumors suggesting he is involved with a female officer. This reinforces the notion that his problematic conduct persists, even while incarcerated.
Man, with that being said, Jag, this thing, right now, Diddy is set to go in front of another judge by tomorrow to speak again on the bond, if he gets out or not. As you stated, you expected him to actually get bond. If he doesn't, and this case takes months to go, will you at least be having somewhat of some type of satisfaction that he at least doesn't get to sit in a mansion or a nice hotel, but he has to now eat cup noodles, sleep on a bunk, get 3-minute showers, live this life based on what is alleged that he was doing this whole time?
The only thing that he could do that would bring me satisfaction is confess to all of his sins and crimes, point out all of his accomplices and his buddies, and create a reparations fund for every victim.
A popular PBD podcast recently explored Diddy's arrest, highlighting its potential impact on the music industry. The discussion centered on the broader consequences, suggesting that his legal issues could create a ripple effect, influencing other artists and industry practices as a whole.
Bribery, extortion, fraud, money laundering, drug trafficking, embezzlement. What's the RICO, what's the racketeering in your opinion of what could potentially be going on with Diddy, just based on everyone you've interviewed?
Well, there's so many categories to it, right? I mean, you get to pick and choose. They get to pick and choose.
Sure.
The way they wrote this law allows them to go after people for different reasons, okay? You pick and choose which one this is. He's in most of them.
Yeah.
He's in most of them, if you think about it, right? With the stories that's coming out. By the way, think about, so Stephen A. Smith yesterday is doing a show with another guy that they have on, and the other guy says, this isn't just about Diddy. Diddy's life is on the line right now, and people, I mean, it's just, at any point, anything could happen to him. Forget about the fact that, you know, he's got a lot of risk on the line. Think about him, the comparison with him and Epstein, right? Here's a story. Meet Sean Diddy Combs' manipulator-in-chief, who was once compared to Ghislaine Maxwell.
Well, they called him Black Epstein.
Let me read this to you.
Please. Find that picture.
Christina Karam, chief of staff at Combs Enterprises and described as Diddy as his right hand, is alleged to be the manipulator-in-chief in federal investigation as close source everything about Combs' alleged sex trafficking activities. Although she's not been arrested or charged, the federal indictment accuses Combs of using high-ranking supervisors to facilitate and cover up the abuse, with Karam allegedly organizing freak-offs involving sex workers and raids on Diddy's mansion, seized narcotics with over 1,000 models. In a separate lawsuit, Little Rod, Karam is compared to Ghislaine Maxwell, to Sean Combs, Jeffrey Epstein, and accused of ordering sex workers for Combs. Little Rod also alleges she made staff carry drugs for Combs. Okay. At this point, everyone knows Diddy's done.
Stephen expressed concern that Diddy's life could be at risk in prison due to the serious nature of the accusations against him, including misconduct involving children and women. These sensitive allegations have angered many, potentially putting Diddy in danger while incarcerated.
Death Row Rex, remember him? He decided to share some advice with Diddy on his show. Yes, he does have a show from prison. It's called Collect Call with Suge Knight. Here's what he had to say. Look at these quotes. Quote, I'll tell you what, Puffy, your life is in danger because you know the secrets of who's involved in that little secret room you guys are participating in. You know they're gonna get you if they can. Puffy, I'm gonna give you some real advice. 2 quick things. You gotta make a decision. When you go to prison, either you're gonna be standing up, pissing, or squatting, sitting down. I'm gonna have videotapes on you. I'm gonna have audio tapes on you. I'm gonna have evidence where you're gonna have to capitulate to my demands, so you're gonna need to do what I want you to do. That's extortion. It also mentioned murder. What do you think Al B. Sure is alluding to? Kim Porter's gone. The mother of 3 children from P. Diddy is gone. And Al B. Sure goes on his Instagram page with 3 separate Instagram posts bringing this stuff up, imploring the society and the communities at large, particularly the hip-hop and R&B community, to listen to what he had to say, imploring them to remember that he went to the authority